Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update. So this time we actually have two relatively significant pieces of news. The bigger one I'll do second, just so I have the whole remainder of the video to discuss it. But we'll start here pretty quickly with the new Avatar Legends role-playing game update. So update 23 dropped last night, I guess. PDF timeline update. That's exactly what we expected this to be about, because the campaign says that the PDF is expected in January. And while I don't think this update is positive, because I don't think you can ever frame a delay as a positive, it is a positive that it has not been heavily delayed and that they are still more or less on schedule. So it feels like they're only like 2 or 3 weeks off where they probably expect it to be. So exciting news. We've completed the core book, text and layout. We've handed off the full PDF to the amazing folks at Viacom CBS and are now waiting for approvals. If you're with us through the campaign, you'll know that approvals process in which Avatar Studios goes through our work and determines if it is approved, or if we need to change or modify it to better fit the Avatarverse. This process usually takes a few weeks, but we've been working closely with them throughout the process, so we're hopeful to get their notes back soon. Once we have the PDF back from approvals and complete all the necessary edits, the next step is sending it to you. In other words, you should be expecting your core book PDFs in the next few weeks. Once the approvals process is done, we'll send out PDFs via BackerKit and we'll post an update here to let you know how to access the files. Next steps. Now that we're done with the core book, we're working on getting Wan Shi Tong's adventure guide to approvals next. That's going well, and we're excited to be so close to finishing the PDF to approvals and then to you. Once we're done with the adventure guide, we'll be sending the files to the printer to begin the arduous task of printing up all these books. In addition, we're working hard on getting all the accessories through approvals. Almost all of them are approved, and mass production for them will begin after the Lunar New Year. They're right on schedule to be done before the books are finished printing. We'll keep you focused on what's going next. Quick start. We'll be back with an update as soon as the PDF is ready. So I assume what they're saying there is that you won't necessarily have to wait a month for the update, but that as soon as it's ready, they'll have an update. So hopefully they just literally as soon as it's ready to go, they will get that out to us. Because it'd be a bit weird if we did have to wait, like say we miss the sort of February update window. Like, would we really have to wait until the March update to get the book? I don't think that's what they're leaning towards. Because again, we've still got, the core of like 3 weeks left in January. So I think the idea seems to be that they're hoping for early February, if everything goes really, really well. So that's, I think, relatively okay. It's to me the first time they're really mentioning the idea that, like in terms of the material, that like they're really specifying we're done with the core book, but the extra stuff we're still working on. So I think I just expected that, because that was like unlocked over the course of the campaign, that when they were talking about like writing the content, that they meant all of it rather than separately. But I suppose it just means we'll have two things to look forward to. Both books, I think, are expected to have new content, in that the core book will have the Roku information and maybe some other stuff. And then I think they specified that the Wan Shi Tong Adventure Guide is going to have new Wan Shi Tong information. So that's interesting. But yeah, it seems to just be, waiting on approvals. I hope when they say this, we've been working with them closely throughout the process, so we're hopeful to get stuff back soon. I hope that actually is the case, and it's not that it's going to take them like 2-3 weeks to go through it. They send them the notes back. It takes them a week to correct the notes. Then they have to go through the final approval, which takes another few weeks, and suddenly this, you'll have your PDF in a few weeks, turns into maybe 2 months. I hope that's not what they're talking about here, but they seem to be positive that you'll have it relatively soon. I get the impression it's probably going to be very tough for them to make January, but early February is probably when it's happening. I also do appreciate that I feel like almost for the first time in the project, they've just actually given like a proper update about the whole process, that like, hey, the core book is done. We're basically done with the other book. The accessories are basically also done. Just stuff that I felt like was almost missing from some of the previous updates. It feels like they actually like did it here a little bit. Overall, given that this is probably likely one of the final like major updates in terms of just them finishing stuff, that's not just going to be the printers have X% of the books printed, we've shipped X% of the stuff to backers. The biggest criticism is just that there's no pictures. Like they're not showing us anything from the process. That they said that in some of the early updates that they'd give us content as we go through. We haven't seen a single piece of that. That's the only sort of, you know, I suppose kind of fear in a way that they have, that it looks like, I think someone asked them a question below for like, you know, any chance we can notify you about typos and stuff like that. You know, but basically the sort of the fan edit pass. Is there really any opportunity for that to actually happen? And the backers are kind of a decent way to do that. But it looks like, you know, they're not doing any of that because of this whole approvals process. So, you know, that's that. Bit disappointing that like potentially we were maybe 2 weeks away from getting the PDF. Now it's probably more like 4, but it's not too much of a delay. Next, the big piece of news. Viacom CBS, the official account here, posted on Twitter, mark your calendar, on February 15th, we'll provide an update on the momentum of Paramount Plus and its diverse content lineup, plus our Q4 and full year 2021 financial results. Full details here. And if you go to that, it's just basically the same thing. Including its diverse global content lineup and more. Obviously, the description here makes it feel like, okay, it's going to be more about effectively the first year of Paramount Plus, rather than them really hyping it up as just a preview event for 2022. Like, I'd be much more on the sort of hype train for like, we're going to get everything we want from Avatar Studios if this description was a little bit more focused on the diverse content lineup and really hyping up stuff you'll see in 2022. Maybe it's just that like it's official Viacom, they've written it in a very businessy way. Because again, the event is fundamentally for investors. But, you know, it is interesting that the title makes it clear that it's more of the quarter results and stuff like that. But it's the exact same event just this year that we had last year. And this was obviously the event where Avatar Studios was announced. So there is expectations that they will say something here. Now, what should expectations be at for this? This is not like San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, where we sort of know going in, we're going to get a big, you know, reveal. Because it's for investors, I think we can be relatively confident that they'll at least say something about Avatar Studios. Just because Avatar Studios was one of the bigger announcements in terms of upcoming stuff from the event last year. It's been a whole year. I think they need to say something. So I'd be shocked if it's just not mentioned. The big question, though, is how much will they say anything beyond sort of just and when it comes to Nickelodeon, our Avatar Studios, which we announced last year, is still working away on its first project, the movie and a series. And is it just going to be sort of a rehash of basically what they announced last year? I don't think they can do that. And I think if not just because they sort of have to know fans are going to be watching this, they have to say or show something. And the main thing I want to see is just anything specific about one of the projects. I want us to finally be able to actually speculate and discuss that, oh, we now know the movie is going to be about the older ATLA characters. It's confirmed now. I'd like something like that to come out. So even if it is just like, say, a title, a logo reveal, a very basic sort of teaser poster. Once there is a character that we sort of know, and the title makes it clear that it's either focused on one specific era Avatar that we know about, or makes it clear that it's something completely new, then we can at least get to speculating. And I think just the fact that they did announce it a year ago without anything specific to say, a whole year has passed. They have to inform the investors where things are going, what's happening. And then I think they're also at the point now where, because in a way they're really hyping up that in terms of that more sort of, you know, their content for kids that is suitable for kids, where Nickelodeon is kind of really one of the only avenues that they have for that. It feels like they'd also want to hype up that, and are really hyped up Avatar stuff is going to be coming at some point. The thing that makes me doubt and question how much, or if we'll even get like anything significant beyond just a general update, is just that it doesn't feel like we're at any sort of a significant stage where they can say anything specific. Because the recent news that, like, oh, Laura Montgomery is a director on Avatar Studios, but according to her LinkedIn, she's only in that position as of the start of this year. The fact that they're still only now hiring like character designers for the first project, that the thing that was sort of, that they said last year, that the movie is going to go into production later this year, I get the impression that now, like pretty much right now, in the last few weeks, this is when it's actually properly gone into production. Now, maybe a lot of the early stuff maybe has been done, and this is just the major ramp up into full production, and they might probably have a lot of the story stuff, maybe even the main character design. And so, you know, because you at least have Mike and Brian on the team for a while, Brian developed effectively the Avatar art style. He can do the really high quality Avatar art style, and so even if it was just sort of a poster done by Brian, it would at least give us an idea of what's going on. But in a way, the fact that probably one of the main news topics about Avatar Studios has been the animation style, that initially it's a CG movie. Then through job listings, we seem to find out that it's going to be a 2D, 3D hybrid style, but that the intent is still to fundamentally make it still look like Avatar and Korra. That's very interesting to me. So will they have anything like that to show? That's where I feel that's probably a little bit beyond the scope of what this event is. Because if you watched the event last year, they didn't really go overly in depth into any one project in terms of showing off visuals or all that sort of stuff. The fact that I think it's just crazy to believe that they have any like footage done for any of this probably means the best we can hope for is just a visual to go along with the movie, the first project. No trailer or anything like that, just like standard basic intro, first news about this thing shot. But I do feel they have to say something, otherwise 2022, like I've said many times before, is not shaping up incredibly well for Avatar unless some of this stuff really happens, or I'm guessing more towards the end of the year, the news about the Netflix show really begins to kick into gear. But there's also a lot of fans who are not interested in the Netflix show, and you know, so that's not going to mean much to a certain section of the fan base who want to know stuff about Avatar Studios. So this is an opportunity to do it. I just feel like this is the year you need to build up and hype stuff up. That unless they're effectively going to announce that like there's like a delay, don't expect anything until like 2024 or something like that. Whereas I think right now our expectations are more like we're probably expecting the first thing in 2023. I don't really know what way to consider it. I hope this event can be the start of them actually beginning to communicate properly about what's going on. Because I just think it's very frustrating that some of the only mentions of Avatar Studios doing anything are basically behind the scenes approval processes and stuff like that. The occasional mention that, oh, here's someone new who works on Avatar Studios, even though likely they have a giant staff. But the fact that we only know like 7 people on the team it's kind of funny, like a year on, that it's this mysterious thing. And none of the social media channels feel like they have any connection whatsoever to Avatar Studios as it is right now. Like, you have a podcast that is minorly affiliated just because they have 2 actors who can roughly get in touch with them, but it doesn't feel like there's that connection yet. It doesn't feel like Avatar Studios is ready to properly be this kind of public thing. And I think I'm still waiting for them to sort of make the crossover and turn the Avatar, social medias from the way they are now into more of the hyping up that we've got new content coming soon. That when will we see the sort of Avatar Studios makeover? And for that to happen, we need some visuals for them to actually be able to clearly show through the images on social media channels and potentially on a website that here's this new Avatar Legends, Avatar Studios, Chronicles of the Avatar, all this sort of stuff. We're making these changes, and it's clear now that we're in the hype up period for new Avatar content. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. No website. Where does official information come from? I don't know. The business Viacom website? Like, the fact that recent news has come from like careers pages, jobs listings, LinkedIn, and then the occasional like business article that happens to mention it is pretty crazy for a fandom that is so well known to be very passionate about things, and then there's just no information being given like directly to fans. So like I said, they'll mention Avatar Studios. I'd be shocked if they didn't. I think it would be a really negative thing if they didn't say anything. I just struggle to believe we'll see more than, I think, the title of a movie and a logo. I think it could be as simple as that, where it's just sort of a plain background, but you have your title of Avatar The Last Airbender movie, and it's slightly updated graphics, and like, it's got some interesting colors or something like that. That... Or it's maybe a little bit more, and it's that title, that logo, and a image of like Aang in his 20s or something like that. And it's like, cool, like there's the redesign for Aang at this point in his life, and it's like makes it clear that this is where our expectations should be at for the first movie. That's what I want to know, because otherwise it feels like we're sort of resigned for like a year and a half to 2 years of just not knowing anything, and that is not good. So I'm going to wrap it up there, just because it's so difficult to predict what they'll do at these events. Because, again, last year, we went in with minimal expectations. We knew that just through the popularity of Avatar once again returning to Netflix, they're not going to let that go unnoticed. They're going to say something. There was a slight confidence that... they might say something. We might get a 3rd series announced. Maybe. No one predicted the scope of something like Avatar Studios. So maybe, again, we're all underestimating it here, and maybe they will come out and have a whole section on Avatar Studios and do the full, I think, rundown roadmap that I think everyone wants of first up's the movie. Then there's the series. Then there's the first side project. Then there's the first like short form story content. The stuff that they mentioned in the kind of press release last year that we haven't really heard anything about, like apart from Mike and Brian kind of making statements about like, we're planning this long term for the future. Do you have anything specific to say about that? How exactly is Avatar Studios being done? Is it the whole studio is just working on this one thing, then they move on to the next thing? Or are multiple projects going to be on the go at the same time? It's hard to speculate right now because we know so little. So that's where I'm going to wrap up this video, the discussion. So let me know what your thoughts are on the news we got here today. So role-playing game, the PDF, roughly on track. Looks like it's maybe 2-3 weeks of delay. Shouldn't be too serious, but we'll see how the approvals process goes. And then same event as last year, a Viacom investors event. What do you think they'll do this time out? We've had a year of basically no information. What will they say this time out? So yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.